Okay, so first of all, hello everybody, and thank you for being here. I would like also to say thank you to the organizers for having me here. For the very first time I'm attending a students festival, and this is a very exciting moment for me because usually I'm giving these lectures to game festivals, game development conferences, and for the very first time I have the chance to be here with you. And this is like going back in time for myself, because I'm a game music composer and director by job title, but actually by education I'm a master of computer science. So this is the very first fact I wanted to share with you. So many years ago, I don't even want to remember, I was studying computer science in the university, and that was actually the beginning of my story, which I wanted to quickly share with you, because one of the things that makes me so excited today is that you guys more or less share the beginning of my story. Back then in time when I was studying computer science, I was trying to combine several passions of mine. The first one, of course, computers. That was the reason I was studying computer science. The second one, playing video games like crazy, like every guy. I hope, how many video gamers do we have here? Can you please raise your hand so that I get it? Oh, wow. Oh, yeah. Oh. Now we are talking. I should have started with this question, right? Excellent. So going back to what I was saying, so I wanted to combine a couple of passions of mine. The first one, computers. That's why I was studying computer science. The second passion, playing video games like crazy during the nights, because I didn't have any time during the day. You know, I had to attend lectures and other stupid things. And the third passion of mine was, of course, music. When I was a kid, I was dreaming to become a rock and roll star. So can you imagine, you know, the three completely different passions fighting in my poor head for attention. And what do you do? What do you do? So one morning I woke up and I realized that the only way, I cannot fight any of these passions of mine. I really loved computers, I really loved playing video games, and I was a composer by heart. So what do you do in a situation like this? Can you tell me? You become a video game composer, of course. Because that's the way you can combine everything in a perfect career path. And now when I go back to the present day, it makes perfect sense, because this actually gave me the chance to start develop not only myself as a video game composer in terms of art, but also from a technical point of view. I was very interested on how I can use my computer science skills and ideas in the video game music. And more than 20 years later, oh God, I didn't want to admit it, but I said it already. Yeah, I'm here with you guys, and I present you the latest achievement of mine in the adaptive symphonic video game music. And when I was thinking how I would like to approach the lecture, I was thinking that the best way to talk about adaptive music is not just talk in theory, but rather present the adaptive music to you. I wanted even to go a step farther, and I was thinking, how about instead of talking and playing adaptive music, make it interactive? How about we all take part of the interactive presentation? How would you like this idea? Would you like to give me a hand? No? Okay, I'm gonna leave now. So would you like to take part in the presentation? Okay, so let's do it this way. So we are not only going to talk about adaptive symphonic music today, we are going to make an interactive presentation, and you are going to help me. You are going to help the music to adapt depending on your choices and your decisions in real time. So depending on your feelings and imagination, the music is going to adapt one way or the other. Do you like the idea? Okay, a little bit better. Hopefully, how you manage to keep you awake until the end of the presentation. Okay, but before we jump, I want to make sure that we are on the same page and we know what does exactly adaptive music mean, adaptive symphonic music. That's why first I would like to make a quick comparison with the big brother of the video game music, the movie soundtrack productions. And I'm very happy to say that nowadays, what the movie soundtrack productions achieved for more than 100 years, the video game music achieved in less than 25 years. And the current productions of soundtrack music for the video game industry are fully comparable with the Big Brother soundtracks for the movies, to the point that even Grammy and the British Academy Awards acknowledged that the video game music is an art on its own right and included the video game music in their recognition awards every year. So what is the difference, however? Okay, they're fully comparable when it comes to live orchestral productions, recordings, compositions, but it's a completely different media. So on one hand, we have the movie, which is completely linear media, which means that once we edit the movie and lock the edit, everything is perfectly clear what's going to happen from the very first start, from the very beginning of the movie to the end, and more or less there could be no surprises in the music. On the other hand, we have the video game music, which is totally unpredictable because it needs to follow the decisions, the feelings, and the actions of the gamers, right? Otherwise it wouldn't be adaptive. It would be just a background music which you can easily play for yourself, and that's it. So the first and the biggest difference is that on one hand we have a linear music, and on the other we have music which is completely interactive and adaptive. And this, of course, is the biggest challenge of them all, because how do you compose music which should be able to change any moment depending on your actions, decisions, emotions, if you like? Well, the answer is it's very challenging, because there is a second part of the challenge, and it is the fact that the video game music is being played many times in comparison to the movie. Okay, you go to the cinema or you play your favorite TV series, and the music that plays throughout the episode or the entire series just plays once or twice, and that's it. And when you go back to the video game music, there are games which engage you in more than 100 hours, right? We have role-playing gamers here? Okay, don't be shy. Cool. So then you're perfectly aware of the fact, guys, that when we play our favorite video games, we spend a lot of hours, which means that the video game music faces quite a challenge to be composed in a way that it needs to be engaging, pleasing, supporting, adaptive, but at the same time it should not be repetitive and intrusive after you listen to the same piece of music over and over again. Agree? Okay, yeah, so that's quite a challenge. So from one hand, it needs to be composed in a very special way, so it's not repetitive and boring or intrusive, but it also needs to be equally engaging, like the soundtrack music for the movies. So it's a really big challenge. So how do you do this? Well, with a lot of work, and of course with the help of our favorite computer science. So here comes the computer science to the rescue to help us, to make sure that the music that we are implementing in our video games are not going to be repetitive, are not going to be intrusive, but are going to be always supportive and emotionally connected with all the decisions and actions you are taking into your favorite games. And after this introduction, the first thing I'd like to do is to give you an example with the latest project I was happy to compose and to produce the music for. And once I talk a little bit about the music and how I did it, then we're gonna jump into the most exciting part of the presentation, the interactive lecture, where we are all going to take place together. Okay, give me a second. everything was perfectly fine during the repetition, but as you can imagine, always. Now would be the right time to start singing, I guess. The only problem is that I am not very good at multitasking. I'm not actually sure if the beamer is working because there is no projection at all. Okay. Sometimes to turn it on actually works. Helps. I mean, yeah. My friend is used to saying, yeah, if you have problem, try turning the computer on. Or the device. Okay. Okay. Cool. Excellent. Okay, so thanks God I don't have to sing. Although as I already told you, I've been dreaming to become a rock and roll star for my whole life. Obviously that it's not going to be my chance. Anyway, so what I'm going to show you here, guys, is a movie which presents the idea, the main concepts behind the soundtrack production of the game Divinity Original Sin 2, developed and published by Larian Studios, where I have the honor and the chance to be composer and music director. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna play you the movie and I'm gonna make comments. So if you have any questions, please remember your questions and I will be happy to answer all of your questions at the end of the presentation. Another challenge with the sound this time around. Okay, so the very first thing that we wanted to achieve is to introduce a brand new concept of the soundtrack, because usually in a video game, in a role-playing video game, what you're able to do is to customize your character, right? Especially the people who are familiar with role-playing games know that that's one of the most exciting things, to customize your character. Then I remember a couple of years ago when I was discussing the topic about the soundtrack production with the director, with our director and leader Sven Vinke. I told him, how about if we give the players the chance to customize their music as well? Would you like this idea? How does it sound? And luckily for me, he was very, very excited about the idea and said, okay, go for it. This sounds like a really cool idea and something like has never been done before. So imagine we go a step farther and instead of just produce a static soundtrack, instead of just customizing your character, you're giving the chance to customize your music. And the way we introduced this idea was giving a chance to the players to select one out of 4 instruments at the beginning of the game. And these are the instruments we gave a chance. So depending on the instrument you select from the start, one of these 4 instruments, bansuri, which is a woodwind instrument, tambura is a stringed instrument coming from the Balkans, then the oud coming from the Arabic countries and also known as traditional instrument in Turkey, and last but not least, an instrument which everybody is familiar with, the cello. So what we wanted to achieve is to give the choice to cover a wide and wild at the same time range of different instruments. And by selecting one of these instruments, actually you were customizing your soundtrack, and later on throughout your gameplay experience, your instrument was leading the soundtrack in an important story moments, during the fight, during your discoveries, the emotional and interesting parts of your campaign. And this is the way you select your instrument right at the start of the game. As you can see, they go in interactively. This is an example how the different instruments would sound if you select different instrument at the beginning of the game. Same piece of music, but flavored by tamburo. So I believe you notice the different flavor and the different characters which is being brought by the character and the nature of the instrument itself. So depending on the instrument, the soundtrack shapes in a completely, not completely, but different enough way. Now you're going to hear how the different instrument would sound in a fight.
Right where I want you.
Okay, so that was the first concept of the game, of the soundtrack production. The second one, in order to achieve a really variety and as many colors as possible, we wanted to introduce not one main theme, but 6, because at the start of the game, you're able to select one of the 6 origin stories. And I was thinking how awesome would it be if you had a chance, once you select your character, to have your own main theme, which follows your adventures and takes different variations and forms depending on the decisions and actions you take. So here are a couple of examples.
Oh, don't stare.
Unfortunately,
How would you look after
the
eons
volume
in
is not
some
loud enough.
ghastly crypt? Your people are rather prone to death. Mine are not. Yet when I emerged from my completely unjustified imprisonment, I found them gone. Our culture forgotten. Any trace of the world I knew all but obliterated.
Once I was a crusader for the Divine Order. I pledged my life to Lucian the Divine. The war changed everything. He sent me to save the elves I grew up amongst. I arrived too late. Lucian ordered the use of death fog against the Black Ring, annihilating everyone I once knew in the process. Now I'm a mercenary killer, one of the infamous Lone Wolves. And my next target is none other than Lucian's own son.
Okay, I really hope you notice that depending on the character you select, the soundtrack goes in a completely different direction. And that was the idea basically, because again, usually when you play a video game, there is one soundtrack production, and no matter what you do, that's the music you are supposed to listen to. But we wanted to be brave, we wanted to be innovative, and came with this idea, how about depending on the character you are playing with the corresponding backstory, the decisions you take, the soundtrack goes in a different direction to support your story, the story that you would like to carve and to follow your adventures in the universe. So the different 6 main themes, the idea behind this theme was exactly this, to give you the chance to, even with the soundtrack, to make you feel that you are writing your own story throughout the game campaign. And here we come to the last, and I think one of the most exciting features of the music production in Divinity Original Sin 2. We came with the idea of changing the music from major to minor mode in real time, or in other words, because this is too music oriented, how about, guys, if the music, the symphonic music, changes in real time depending on your mood and on your decisions? So going from happy to dangerous, or to sad, deep or shallow, moving and shaping in real time, like it's morphing and evolving according to the decisions and actions you take. So basically that is the idea, to change, not to change one piece of music with another, which is usually the case when you play a video game. When the situation changes, what usually happens, one music stops playing smoothly and is being transitioned to another one. But we were thinking, how about really go a step farther, a step in the future, and instead of changing the piece of music depending on the situation, how about the music evolves? And the same piece of music goes from sad to happy and vice versa, or from happy to dangerous. So you can swear it that that's the same piece of music, but it feels like it's being written on the spot to support your very choice. And that is the concept behind this. Can you hear the music, by the way, or should I try to put some more magic, because it's okay, can you? Because now it's critically important to notice the difference. I guess so, because now I'm struggling a little bit. If you give me a second to try something. unfortunately. Here we go. Et voilà. I should have done this from the start, I'm sorry. Otherwise, why would you believe me that I'm a master of computer science, right? Okay, so, again, what is the idea? The music changes from happy to dangerous and vice versa according to the choices you make into the game in real time. And when I say change, I mean evolves. The same piece of music, the same composition, we do not change the composition. We just make the composition evolve, morph, and transition into one way or another, depending on on your actions, your emotions, your decisions. Is it clear? Yeah. Excellent. Now. The music is happy now. Now we are trying to sneak in a forbidden area. Did you notice the difference? Same composition, but it changes in real time. Let's do it again. Sneaky little fellow. You managed to understand what exactly happened. So the same piece of music, the same symphonic piece of music, we're not changing the composition, but we are making the composition change. And I also hope that you notice that it doesn't really matter when and where you do this. It doesn't happen the same time. There is no repetition, so you can do this as many times as you like. The music is going to always change from happy to dangerous and vice versa. Always in a completely different way, without any delay. Right now, right here on the spot to support the decision you just took to trespass and to go into the danger zone. So that's one of the most exciting concepts I've been working during the last couple of years, and which is the foundation of the adaptive symphonic music I wanted to talk about. And I even dreamed to come a step farther, and I believe that this could be even achieved in a symphonic orchestra. How would you like, guys, if we forget for an instant moment that we are talking about video games, that you attend to a live orchestral concert, and you have the opportunity to influence the flow and the mood of the orchestra? Does it sound like a cool idea? Yes or no? Yeah. Okay. So depending on the mood of the majority of the audience, depending the concert goes left, right, up, down. And how can we achieve this, by the way? That's a question that just came to my mind. How about if we use an input from, let's say, electronic devices like maybe, I don't know, some sort of iPad device, or does it sound like a good idea? Imagine that every listener, every single person which is part of the audience has an iPad as an input device, which give the chance to the people to select their mood. Let's say I'm sad, I'm happy, I'm angry. And if the majority selects the same button, the music goes lively on stage this direction. Does it sound like a good idea? So this way, every single orchestral life is going to be unique. And it's going to be your personal experience. And you can go as many times you like to this particular concert, and every time you can say, wow, this time around I experienced it in a lot more angrier way. There are so many angry people nowadays. Next time, wow, we're making a progress. It was a really beautiful, shiny and happy suit. Yeah, that's something that definitely can be achieved with professionals like you guys. And I'm just giving you the idea, and maybe later on, if I manage to provoke your curiosity, some of you might like to go and develop themselves in this direction. Okay, that was not planned to be part of the lecture, but since I have you here and you inspire me, I believe that that's something that is going to happen sooner or later. And let's summarize before we go to the lecture, to the interactive demonstration. So that was the music of Divinity Original Sin 2. And now what we are going to do, we are going to play the music of Divinity Original Sin 2, but in real time. What does it mean? It means that we are going to imagining situation and decisions we are taking in real time, and depending on these decisions you are going to take, the music is going to adapt in real time. Right here, right now. No stupid videos, no bullshit. Here, now. Are you ready? Excellent. So how are we going to do this? We're going to start with a happy piece of music, and we're going to imagine that we are in a safe and sunny place, let's say. That's going to be the beginning of our story. So then, if you want to trespass or to go in a dangerous zone, whoever wants to make the decision, please raise your hand and tell me what would you like me to do. Should I go in this danger zone over there? Should I trespass and enter the dungeon, or should I do something else? Is it clear? Cool, let's do this. Give me just a second to make sure that it works. Okay, same piece of music, right? From the movie. So no more bullshitting, everything here and now. So what is the mood of the music? Definitely not dangerous, right? Okay, the sun is shining, we're safe. So how about, tell me, when do you want me to go in this dungeon over there? Or rather to trespass and to go into the dangerous zone, which is forbidden. I'm waiting. Just raise your hand and tell me. Should I go? Now, okay? Are you ready? What happened with the music? Is it the same piece of music? Yes? But it's dangerous now, right? So we have two choices, guys. I'm a little bit scared because I'm not very brave, I must say, when it comes to trespassing. So we have two choices. We go back to safety, or we enter the dungeon, which is over there. Can you see it? Please look that side. Okay, so what do you want me to do? Raise your hand and tell me, should I go back or to the dungeon? Yes? Are you sure? You're very brave. Are you going to go there alone or? Okay, let's see what's there in the dungeon. Ooh. Are those screams in the distance? Oh. Okay, it seems that you're really brave. You're not scared at all. So what do we do, guys? Do we keep exploring or do we go back? We have two choices. We get out, we go deeper into the dungeon. Someone else. I know that you're a brave girl. I give you that. Okay, Mateusz? Deeper. Okay, what would you expect the music to become if you go deeper? The music should be deeper, right? I don't know. That's the first thing that comes to my mind. Okay, let's see. Tell me, when do you want to go a level down? Okay, let's go. I think it's deeper. Is it? Is it deeper? Okay, so now we have again two options. We go level up, we go over there, but it looks really dangerous because there is a guard over there in the dungeon and we might find ourselves in a fight. What do you want to do? Should we encounter and engage ourselves in the first fight of our gameplay session, or do we go up? Okay, I'm not sure, but if you say so. Oops. I wanted to fight, but okay, fight it is. Press the wrong button if you're wondering what happened. Okay, now we are in a fight. So now we have 5 options. As your game master, I give you 5 options. Option number 1, we run away because we are scared. And you see, I'm so scared that I'm pressing the wrong buttons, it's obvious. I'm not very good at fighting, I'm very good at running. Option number 2, we go on and we fight. And we start killing our enemies one by one. But depending on the music instrument that we selected, we are supposed to hear different music instruments leading the soundtrack, remember? So now if you raise your hand, you need to tell me, should I kill somebody? Should I run away? And what is your music instrument if you would like me to proceed with the fight? Okay? Chill. Okay. What happened with the music? Is your instrument there? Okay. Who loves Bansuri? Who would like to make a killing blow with Bansuri? Okay. This means that we are playing this game in co-op. Every one of us can select a different instrument, and whenever we make a killing blow, our instrument starts to lead the soundtrack. And that's why in real time, depending on what's going on, your own instrument is going to influence and to push the music in a specific direction according to the instrument selection you made at the beginning of the game. Okay, what do we do? Do we keep killing these bastards? Sorry for my language. Or do we do something else? Kill them all, okay. Who's going to kill them all? Do we have a oud? Somebody with oud? Or with some other instrument? Oud, okay. Okay, the fight goes on. There is one more enemy, so be careful. Who is going to make the last killing blow? Go out. Okay, let's go out. I didn't expect this from you, but okay. Okay, we decided to run away right before the end of the fight. Fair enough. We need to prepare ourselves for the boss fight, and it was just a stupid guard over there, so I totally understand it. You have a point there. Cool, so what do we do now? Shall we go out? I feel a little bit tired and a little bit scared, so maybe we should get out of the dungeon at least. Not completely the danger zone, but would you like to get out? Shall we? No? Okay, let's get out. So obviously we are no longer in the dungeon, but still we are not in safety place. Shall we get out of here? Okay, let's get out of here and see how the music is going to adapt and evolve in real time. Okay, the sun is shining again. There is no more danger. Would you agree with me? Okay. We can go back, but I would suggest to stop here, and if you have any questions, that would be the right time to do the Q&A session. Okay, so thank you so much. Thank you, guys. I believe now we are all on the same page, and we know what it's all about when we are talking about adaptive symphonic music. And that was just a simple example. We can go even farther. And this can be applied not only for video games, but this can also be applied for interactive adaptive albums. Imagine that in the future, there is a situation when you buy a brand new album. Could be a symphonic album, could be rock and roll, or completely different style. Would you like to be able to be given the choice to select the mood of the album, the way you would like to experience the album? So right at the start of the game, of the album, before you start playing the music, how about you have questions? So I feel a little bit sad or melancholic today, and I would like to experience this album in a melancholic way. Or I'd like to hear it the way it was imagined by the composer himself the very first time he or she composed the music. So these are just a couple of examples. I would imagine right on the spot the adaptive music would develop in the future. And the most important thing is that I would really hope that there are people among you who would join the ranks and maybe support me in the development of adaptive music in the future. And if you feel like developing yourself in this direction, I would be very happy to support you and to give you any guidance you might be needing. So now is the time to ask any questions if you have. Okay, go ahead.
How do you manage the transition between the minor and major music? Like, is it some kind of pre-produce and like you're recording it, all those transitions, or is it changing somehow by the scripts?
This is a really good question. So you're thinking in the right direction. Basically, there is a transition matrix, it's called. So basically, you have a matrix with the different possible transitions. And depending on the situations which are possible in the game, you have different pieces of music which correspond to the different decisions you are able to go for. So this is one way to handle the transitions from one track to another. Second approach, and the one that I use most of the times, the music is divided in different layers. So by removing and adding different layers into the music, you are changing the key, you're changing the harmony, you're changing the mood. But you can also combine those two approaches to achieve a really versatile and colorful way of transitioning from one track to another. Did I manage to answer the question?
Yes.
Okay. But basically, you need to know what exactly would you like to achieve right at the beginning. And that's why that's another challenge when you are composing adaptive music. First of all, you need to stay connected with the team, and you need to know the different outputs of the story, because that's not linear media, of course. You need to know what are the possible outputs of every single situation so that you compose music for every single direction. That's the challenge. And this means that the music production for video games in particular is a lot bigger. In this particular case, it's 6 times bigger. Okay, anyone else? Yeah.
I heard some vocals. Are the pieces with vocals also adapted?
Yes, every single piece in the soundtrack is adaptive. And even the compositions with the voice, those voices indirectly go in and go out depending on the situation.
What was the music's part in the game's budget?
Sorry, would you repeat the question?
How much did the music
What was the budget of the music? Okay. Well, it depends on the production. So there is no definitive answer to this question. It's like how much does a car cost? I mean, there are different cars, right? So there is from really cheap cars to very luxury expensive cars. So there is no definitive answer. But depending on the scope of the production, usually goes from a couple of thousand to hundreds of thousands. So. In this particular case, it was substantial. I cannot tell you the exact number, but let's say that it involves live orchestra recordings, a lot of musicians. The only thing that I can tell you, and you can calculate in the back of your mind, more than 70 people were involved in this soundtrack production. Live musicians, I'm talking. Engineers, musicians, recording artists. So it's an expensive undertaking. Yes, that's why I think that not every production can afford adaptive music, symphonic adaptive music. You can go with symphonic electronic music easily because the production there is much faster and easier in terms of production and post-production. But when it comes to live symphonic music, it involves a cycle which is heavy and costly, like this one. Yeah. Someone else? Maybe? Yeah, okay, go. Yeah.
I completed both of Divinity Original Sin games, and while I obviously enjoyed the music, I didn't think much about it. Don't you think that your work is overlooked?
Well, actually, this is good news because the music is not supposed to be intrusive. So if you frequently think about the music, there could be two options. You love the music so much that you forgot playing the game, option number one, or the music is so intrusive that it's annoying, right? So I'd like to think that it was the case where you were so engaged with the game and the music was so supportive that you rarely think about the music. And basically, that's the role of the music. It's supportive. The music is supposed to support the emotional state of the player and to give you the atmosphere, to make you immerse yourself into the universe, into the decisions you're taking, into the story you're writing. And that's why one of the main goals, especially for role-playing game, is the music to be composed in a way that it's pleasing the ear without being intrusive and boring.
Yeah, experience was great, but you're like people hidden in the shadow, just doing your job.
Sorry?
You're like people hidden in the shadow, just doing your job, and no one thinks about it.
Well, this is not exactly the case because there are a lot of people who think about the music. So, according to my experience, many of the people don't think about the music, and that's the way I consider my job completely and done in an excellent way, because this means that the music supports the emotions, supports the story, supports the campaign, and it's not repetitive or intrusive. But there are a lot of people who love paying attention to the music or to different details of the music. So I would say that a lot of people actually pay attention to the music, and these are the people who tend to buy the soundtrack, to attend the live concerts afterwards, and to be interested in the way the music was composed. Or okay, Martin. This is again a good question, and again it depends on the scope of the soundtrack. For instance, in this soundtrack production, I composed 135 pieces of music. So you can imagine that this is quite a huge production process, and then to implement every single piece of music takes time. So in this particular case, it took me like 5 months to implement the music and to test it. That's the question. Okay, anyone else? Go ahead. Can you please?
Have you played with the idea of adapting the music to the player's character? So, for example, as the game goes on, you see that the player tends to take aggressive decisions. So you adapt the music in the long run to the player's character in general, not to the specific situation, but to the general character of the player.
This is absolutely brilliant question and idea, and answer is that's one of the next steps I'm thinking to develop the adaptive music. So we're not only selecting music instruments at the beginning, but also the music adapts of your gameplay style. That's really, really brilliant idea, and we've been thinking about this one. We're not there yet because, as you can imagine, there are different ways to approach the game. You can be noble, you can be aggressive, you can be a coward or anything. And in order to address and to support every single, or at least the most common emotions and approaches, it requires a lot of music production and implementation. So the technology is there. We know how to do it. The only thing that we need to do is to organize ourselves in a way that we can do it within the game development life cycle, which is, as you can imagine, limited. And it's brave, but it's very, very time consuming. But going back to your question, I've been thinking about this idea, and this is the next thing we are going to do. Okay. I'm struggling a little bit to hear you. Is there a way to? I'm not sure I can hear you well.
in this adaptive approach, how to design the main theme which is playing before player chooses a character before choosing an
Sorry,
instrument.
last time. Can you get? And this one is working already, so we are perfectly fine. Better late than never, right?
Okay. So there is probably some theme music which plays before a character chooses an instrument. How to design this one to fit the whole composition?
How to design?
Yes. Design, compose, so it matches the choices which player chooses later on.
Okay, I got it. So every single origin character has his or her own background story. And depending on the background story, different compositions are being composed at the beginning. And right at the start of the game, you start to customize your character or to select your origin story. And depending on the choices you make. For instance, if I decide to play with, let's say, Ethan. Ethan is the name of one of our origin characters. The moment you select Ethan, you instantly get the main theme of Ethan. And from this point on, whatever you do throughout the gameplay campaign, the main theme of Ethan and the variations of these very compositions are going to be played in heroic, sad, catastrophic, different events throughout the game.
Thank you.
Yeah. What is the software? Okay, this is an excellent question. The software that I use is called Wise. It's written W-Wise, but you usually pronounce it Wise. It's a very powerful middleware audio software for not only for interactive music, adaptive music, but also for interactive audio. There are two big software tools. One is called FMOD and the other one is Wise. But the one that we use in our games at Larian Studios is called Wise. I would recommend, if you have the time and if you are curious to look into the software, it's free for educational purposes. So if you go to Audiokinetic site, you can freely download the tool and get familiar with the tool. And I believe that it's going to provoke many ideas of yours, because only your imagination is the limit there. You can do basically whatever you like. Okay, anyone else?
Sorry, but we're running out of time.
Okay, guys, it's a pleasure for me to be here. So find me. Facebook, Twitter, send me an email. I would be happy to answer all your questions. If you need guidance, if you need help, if you need an opinion, I would be happy to stay connected with you. Once again, thank you.
Thank you.